So in the last video, we looked at a problem with our routing, and the problem is that this profile we wanted like a protected route, which is only allowed once the login service has been done. But as of now, I mean, you can of course log in through when auth is true, but there's a little issue, security flaw. They can just log into the profile page, by just specifying the URL, or maybe somebody could just insert a link right here and use the link to navigate to the route. So what do we do in this particular case? Now, there's some facilities available that really can help us, and one of the facilities that we have right here is a can activate feature right here. Now, within a can activate, I can specify here some uh, conditions, like a service which can actually check whether the user is logged in or not, and then I'll just specify here what we call as an, well, let's make it like always authenticated. You should be first, and I'll just make it like a guard. Right now, I'll tell you what guards are really, but I'll just create here. I mean, ideally, I should have created it like a within a service. I will do it here as well. So just parallel to the components here somewhere, I'm going to create here a new folder, call it services, and this is where I'm going to create a new guard. So in this particular services folder, I'll just kind of create a new service. So I'll just call as always auth guard.service.ts, and I'll make it ag-service right here. Make it always auth guard. I'll not like to call it service, just maybe this, right? And now this kind of implements an interface called can activate, right? Remember, you can put here only the can activate interface, and this can activate interface as such has a method right here which it takes in a route, and we'll just copy this, and possibly we'll just build it here into this guard right here. So just copy and paste this right here and remove the output types. I mean, we don't really want to make it so complex. We'll just keep it simple, and maybe just nothing right here as of now to start with. It's just kind of a can activate method that needs an implementation here. Okay, now can activate must at least return a true or a false, right? So it can return a true from here, and if it returns a true, that really means that we are now allowed to go into this route. So it's kind of a guard which is sitting on your path right here and waiting for you to give us a go ahead. And go ahead really means if it returns a true, that means I can go onto the profile page. Let's test this maybe. I mean, as a simple thing that I'm going to do right now is I'm going to the services right here and make some condition right here, isn't it? So let's say if 2 plus 2 is 4, I'll return true from here, something like that, right? Double equals 4. I'll return a value from here. Otherwise, I'll just use something else. So once this has been done, and we'll just test the example right now. So what I'm saying is that I'm going to return a false, but I think this condition is never going to reach here because 2 plus 2 is 2 is always going to be returning this value. And let's see what happens. So we just kind of go down to the code again. We'll have to do some more bit of code, and then because I've just put this always auth guard right here, I just need to provide an import for this. So provide an import, maybe just write this, and it's available here. Not just this, because it's a service, I'll just need to instantiate this somewhere in the providers. So just type in here always auth guard right here, something like this. Now this I think now should really work, and let's go down to the page. and I'll just log in. It's already returning true, and it's allowing me to, go to the next page. So, I mean, both the conditions are true. The authentication has been returned true, and because of this, that I'm just kind of taking a call in the guard here as well. So the guard really allows me to, return true value. But what I'll do is let's make it 5. So 2 plus 2 is never going to be 5, and so false is going to be written. Let's see what happens in this case. And that's going to be an interesting case for you. So I kind of log in from here. Notice it's still auth true, but it's not going to allow me to get inside this route. In fact, even if I just do like profile, and I'm never allowed into this page. I mean, I get into a situation where I'm not even can see anything right here. Now that's because if this condition has failed, right, then you'll have to do something to go back into the into the login page. So you'll have to write this manually. So I think the guard thing is clear to you. What we'll do is we'll turn this into a realistic scenario, because as of now we just need a service which can mark a user as authenticated or not authenticated, right? So let's just do this here itself. Now in the component right here that we had, remember the component TS file. Sorry. Okay, sorry, I was just in the wrong area. So here, we were doing an AJAX call right over here, but maybe this should have happened using a service itself. So I might have just done an AJAX request, somewhere in the services. So I'll just kind of create here a new file and call it as a login.service.ts, and I'll make this as an ag-service and make it like a login service. Now this is the service that's going to need HTTP, so it's going to be private HTTP of type HTTP, and we're going to do it from here, which means have the Angular HTTP service here, and then we're going to have a method called authenticate, and it's kind of like a public method, and we can pass the user object from here, something like that, and we'll not do a real scenario, but I'll just simulate this kind of an event. And so once authenticate method is called, it's going to return a promise type. So it can just return a promise of any type. It doesn't really matter as of now. And then what we'll do is we'll just bring out the code from this whole thing, copy, and I'll just go down to the login service right here and type in here return this. Now this is kind of a promise, it's being returned from here. So the service really does this call, and maybe I can also issue another then statement right here, which is not then get the data right here, and I'll just do a this dot authenticated. We'll just keep a authenticated property right here to boolean to be false to start with, right? So I'm going to check right here if the data dot auth, then we'll make authenticated property as false. So this is this dot authenticated, and I'll make it true, right? So only in this particular case, and of course in the else case, whenever the user really does something wrong right here, I'll make it false back again. So in some situations, once it is converted into true, it can become false. It's kind of not a real implementation, but close to that. So it's just kind of simulation of those things. You'll have to build it more comprehensive, think about more scenarios, and so the service really does this authentication right here. So to use this login service, of course, I'll have to inject it at a module level so that the same instance is going to be shared. Then only the same instance is shared, right? I can get to know whether the authentication is true or false. So not here, but in the, I don't know what I'm trying to do here. So I'm just going to type in here login service, and this kind of should give me the instance in all the components. And I'm going to then use here in the login component itself, I'm going to assign kind of a private, not here, and the constructor rather. So private login service to be of login service type. And then instead of this solver here, I am just doing this dot login service dot authenticate. Call this method, and that's going to do something. And then what I'll also do is from the login service, I'm just doing some calls here. At the end of it, I'm also going to return the data as it is. So it's kind of taken over by the next thing in the component, and the component really works as it is. The only thing that I'm trying to do in the service is just set this authenticated flag to true or false. Now, if this really happens, then I can use the same login service in the guard right here, and so I will just write a constructor right here and just use private login service to be of login service type. And this is going to be kind of dependency injected. Of course, it's not given an import. I'll just add the import right here. Oh, I just have two constructors here. I forgot. And then I'll just use if, and now I think it's going to be a simple call. So login service dot authenticated. If it is authenticated, just go back and return a true value. Else, if it's not, right, we'll return a false right here, and then we'll think of some scenarios right here. So that's how this guard is going to really work for you. Now let's just try this here. So I just do here, because authentication is happening true, and I'll just change one property in the dummy.json. I'll just make it false. So the guard is going to receive the value as false, and it's not really kind of letting me in. Now if I just have this, remember this kind of authenticated right now. If I just move to the profile, I can't really go here because the authenticated service is still lying false. So what I'm going to do back now here is, in case I fail on the authentication, at least I should not go into a kind of a blank page like this. I mean, like here. So I'm going to go down to the routes again, and over to this routes, and I'm going to inject another thing right here, like we did in programmatic navigation. I'm just going to type in here private, and router to be of type router. Now, so router is coming from Angular this version, and I'm also going to do this dot router dot navigate the way we did it, right? And it's a method that takes in an array. Now you just want to navigate to the login page. Remember, the login page path is just this right now, just blank. So just navigate it to blank, right? That's all. And let's just try it again. So if I log in right now, it's authenticated false, and then if somebody tries to do a profile login, it's just sent back into the login component page. It's not a blank page anymore. So that's how really guards are. I might not have been able to give you a complete picture, because that will really involve creating server-side routes and then doing it from there. But I think you should have really got the intent of creating an activated route. Now, it's just not that you need an authenticated route. You always need to authorize for routes as well. So you might just comma separate. That's why it's an array, right? You just not need authentication. And authentication is going to be more, I would say, in a real-time application, It's going to be a little more complicated, not just setting up a Boolean flag or something. Maybe you'll just need to have a token and validate your token against a particular service. That's how the protected routes are going to work. So this is about how you can control. At least you have a fair view of how to do it, and then you can take this yourself forward by looking into the guards area that you can put in this section. So routing is a more complex topic. There's so much in this little object that you can have over here, but we will be more keen and more focusing on the parameters in the next section. Just to tell you a little bit more about the routing part on the. Okay, I think I'll just do it in some other video, and I'll catch you there with the next parameters and how we can pass parameters using these routes. So see you there.